bout for you coming up next. We're going to get the big boys in here.
I've been looking forward to this fight for weeks and weeks. You know, I've talked to multiple people around the area, and people seem to be split. Obviously, the Young's MMA contingent is very heavy on Kevin Smith. They think that this guy is the real deal, and he's going to be just too much for Ras Hylton to handle. However, Ras Hylton is a very, very skilled striker, and he is a large man himself. Everyone I've spoken to from First Class MMA has just raved about this guy, and one of my close friends has told me how good Ras is, so this is going to be a really interesting fight in the heavyweight division.
I believe they call Ras what? His nickname's the Rasquatch?
The Rasquatch and the Jamaican Shamrock.
I like both of those.
Yeah.
Actually, you were talking about the favorites and people predicting this fight. A lot of people are split on this, as you mentioned, but on Tapology, a heavy favorite is Hylton.
Wow. I mean, look at this guy. He's a mix between Brock Lesnar and Kane, as Kevin Smith told us on our show, the Main Event Podcast. And you can see it. The guy clearly has a great look for the sport of MMA. He's a large man, and I cannot wait to see these two get it on. One of my fights of the night, Brian, right here.
Man, I was about to say, he just looks intimidating. Looking him stare down the cage and stare down some of the fans in attendance, he just looks like a menacing figure, and trying to do like that Hatebreed song, Just Saying. He's trying to destroy everything on his way into the cage.
And here comes the Rasquatch himself, Ras Hylton, out of First Class MMA. He is undefeated. He stands 6'6", and he has a huge reach, 83-inch reach. That's John Bones Jones-like. So this guy he is no joke, and he's a very skilled striker. He has 2 wins, both by TKO. The last victory was against Matt Glover at NEF 22. I'm not sure if you've seen that tape, but my God, what a finish that was. The kick that he landed was scary. So Kevin Smith's going to really have to, I think, keep this fight close. He doesn't want to stay on the outside and let Ras use his reach, because if he does, he might pay for it. But if he uses his size and gets it to the ground or keeps it close in the clinch, it's going to give Kevin Smith the advantage. So a really interesting stylistic matchup between these two heavyweights.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now go to the heavyweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner to my left. He trains with Young's MMA and enters this fight with a record of 3 wins against 2 losses. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Smith. And his opponent standing directly across the cage. He enters this fight with a perfect record of 2 wins, 0 defeats. He trains with First Class MMA. Ladies and gentlemen, Ras Hylton. 3 rounds, heavyweight division.
Are you ready?
This is going to be an absolute battle. I cannot wait. Seeing Ras just walk in, kind of that, almost like a Jacare-esque movement into the cage too. He just didn't do the alligator chomp, but other than that, he's a very scary, intimidating guy, much the same as Kevin Smith, who lands a heavy shot here initially against Hylton.
Kevin did a good job of catching that kick, and I think this is where he wants to fight. He wants to fight close. He doesn't want to stay on the outside of Ras's punches. As what a shot that was. If that would have connected, that could have been lights out. And now Smith looks to push Ras up against the cage if he can get him there. Ras is doing a great job. He's got double underhooks right now, not allowing Kevin to get to the position he wants. But Kevin is trying his hardest, and Ras breaks off, and now they are back to striking.
Now we're back into the stand-up here, where both guys are dangerous, both simultaneously trying to kick the other one, and almost a jumping kick and almost a jumping knee there from Hylton, which would have been extremely dangerous had he connected.
Ras had a nice teep earlier there, and then came across with a clear shot. And I'll tell you what, these guys, I think both of these guys are going places just by looking at their movement. I mean, Kevin Smith is as big as a heavyweight can get. He has to cut weight to make the 265 heavyweight limit. Massive man. And Hylton, he looks great on the feet, really loose. He looks very comfortable in there. As Smith has him pressed up against the cage. Ras has a headlock in. He's not looking to try to advance on that position, but throwing some knees, looking to break Kevin Smith off and get it back to striking here.
Hylton still holding that choke and holding Smith at bay. He's just gonna, as you mentioned, avoid those kicks, and now he's gonna levy some kicks to the midsection of Smith in his own right. Smith trying to improve his record. He is 3-2. Hylton undefeated as he looks to continue up the heavyweight ranks. There is a heavyweight title fight in the amateur ranks, which I'm sure either of one of these two, with a victory, might be in line for the next shot.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see how long they stay as amateurs before they turn pro. I mean, I can't imagine that there's too many amateur heavyweights in this area that would want to take a fight with either one of these guys. As Smith takes it down to the ground, but Hylton does a great job of, well, he almost did, and then Kevin Smith does a reversal there, and now he's on top. Hylton doesn't look to be in too much trouble right now, but that could change real quick with one of those big bombs that Smith clearly wants to throw here.
Smith has his neck, at least was open for a moment, now has that control on top as he's raining down a punch, and now standing, which is very dangerous. With a man of his power being able to stand and rain down a blow like that, I can only imagine, does not feel very good. As Hylton working on his back again, trying to get out. Just 10 seconds left to go in this round, as Hylton trying to survive, and it looks like he probably will in this round.
How do you score this first round, Brian? That's a really close one because they both had some success there. As we talked about in the previous fight, you know, Hylton ended up on his back, so some judges might give that to Smith as he ends up on top. But I do think Hylton had a little bit more success on the feet. But it was very close. I could see that round going to either guy, as you see one of the trainers from Young's MMA and head coach Chris Young talking to Kevin Smith, and it looks to be bleeding a little bit out of his nose.
Yeah, Ryan, if I'm trying to judge this round, I don't think it's going to make or break this match, this bout at all, because it's going to be won in the second and third, because that was a pretty closely contested battle. Even if it does go to one side or the other, it's going to be what, a 10-9?
Yeah.
I didn't see it anywhere further than that one. So if Hylton comes out on top of that one, it's by a very narrow margin. Or in contrast, if Smith did, it's going to be very narrow there too. And this second round is going to be even more vital. And I imagine we're going to see some heavy shots landed early on as we start things on the feet.
Kevin McDonald tells him to get it underway, and they touch gloves in the center of the cage and come out with a stiff kick. Kevin Smith looks to throw a right, and Hylton again loves to throw kicks and misses there. Now Hylton pushes him up against the back of the cage and looking for another takedown. Great takedown D by Ras Hylton, the first class MMA.
Yes, a very good defense there to make sure he does not get taken down here. And now working on a nice guard there as he's almost got him into it, to use that wrestling term, that pedigree formation that Triple H used to use, as Kevin Smith basically just gives that one up, goes to his back, but they'll stand him up, and a heavy shot landed by the Rasquatch.
That was a stiff jab. Oh, and Kevin Smith looks exhausted.
And he's bloody too. You're looking at his face and really starting to gush as he just drops to the ground.
This fight's gonna get stopped. Hylton landed some big shots there, and he continues to, as Kevin Smith is bloodied up. And Kevin McDonald might step in and stop this fight if this gets any worse.
Hylton trying to finish things now, gets
full mount
guard. Yeah, the full mount. If he just rains a couple more blows, you see the McDonald coming in, just seeing if this one's going to be done here in just a moment. Again, the blood still pouring out of Smith's face. Now on back mount, he's raining it down, blows to the right side of the head, and will get up, and he will let Smith get up too.
Some incredible toughness as Kevin Smith is bloodied. Comes back with a nice left, and man, if that kick would have landed, that could have finished the fight right there. I think at this point, with how tired Kevin looks, yeah, and they called the fight. Kevin McDonald stepped in. I think that's a good call. No need to take any unnecessary punishment.
I was about to say, you could see Smith was exhausted. Plus, our sound guy here already cued the music because he thought the fight was done.
Yeah.
So, understandably so, it lasts a couple more seconds and then eventually called there. But Hylton definitely the aggressor and came out so strong in that second and deserved that victory to stay undefeated.
What a fighter. I was talking to my buddy Ricky Dexter, who is the NEF amateur welterweight champion, and trains at a Team Irish. Team Irish and First Class MMA, they train together quite frequently, and he was telling me how scary of an individual Ras Hylton is, and he clearly was right. What a performance. This is a guy to keep your eyes on. He's not even 30 yet, so he still has his prime years ahead of him. It's going to be interesting to see how far he can take it.
And you mentioned too, Ryan, heavyweights don't have a lot of competition just because there's not that many large individuals like that one. And plus, with the volatility of having to hit those and eat those heavy shots once in a while, you wonder how many more fights he's going to take until he goes pro just because of the damage that incurs. But we do have De Castro versus Gulliver later on, and I wouldn't mind seeing either one of those gentlemen, whoever wins the title, go against this behemoth of a man.
Well, Gulliver and Ras aren't going to fight because they're teammates.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, Ras Hylton, this is a guy that, and Nick Gulliver for that matter, I mean, he's a heck of a fighter as well. So First Class MMA is really a gym on the rise. And as you've seen Young's MMA really be a hotbed for MMA fighters in New England, First Class MMA is right there with Young's as they are putting out some great fighters, and they continue to evolve, and their gym is just getting better and better under head coach John Rea.
And you wonder too if just the fact that Gully and Hylton get to train with each other and get to spar with one another, that's got to help. Because again, as we talked about, there's not a lot of competition here in this division, so that can only help because iron sharpens iron.
Exactly right. And we'll send it to Pete for the official announcement.
45 seconds into round number 2, referee Kevin McDonald calls a halt to this contest. Your winner via TKO and still undefeated, Ras Hylton.
Ras Hylton improves his record to 3-0. What an impressive heavyweight. Keep your eyes out for this guy.
Yeah, and in contrast, Smith will drop his record now down to 3-3, but again, he just looked a little tired. I think we'll see from Smith again here in the future because he's also a dangerous fighter, landing some very heavy blows early on, but just got a little too gassed as the fight progressed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we talked about that earlier about conditioning. You know, maybe it was a bad weight cut for Smith. I mean, who knows? We'll talk to him and get his thoughts at some point here. But clearly, Ras Hylton, very, very good shape, and he was able to withstand the ferocious takedown attempts from Young's MMA product, Kevin Smith, and now is 3-0.